All right, we'll go and get started. It's a little bit after 6:30. Everybody for being here, taking time out of your busy schedules in person. And I know we have a pretty large contingent crowd on Facebook Live right now, so that's always encouraging. My name's Chief Chris Settle with the Culpeper Police Department here. Todd over there is our senior technology specialist, right? Technology specialist, yeah. So we put the senior, we just got promoted, so we'll promote him tonight, field promotion. We'll see how he does tonight first. But thanks for coming. We thought this is very important for us and important for you to know kind of what we're doing and how we're policing your community. And we thought this is an important thing to share. I know we had some meetings pre-implementation on our flock systems and our LPRs. I'll tell you a brief history on our LPRs is we've had LPRs for a long time. Most of our LPRs, our license plate readers, were affixed to our vehicles, driving through our communities. We have since stopped that practice, and now our license plate readers are now stationary throughout our community. So the reason being, they're a little bit better, easily to maintain, and they're a little bit better functional for the police department than being affixed to a patrol vehicle driving through the neighborhood. Tonight, we're going to do a public forum on our flock safety system. So we're not here to promote any vendor or any LPR. Flock Safety is the vendor that we chose to go with. There are, just for full disclosure, there are other vendors out there that do the same thing, read license plates in our communities, but Flock Safety is the vendor that was the best fit for us. So this is very informal. I know on Facebook as well. If you have any questions, just shout them out, put your hand up. We're glad to answer any questions you may have tonight. So just real quick, I know Dr. Bratz is here from the school system. For those on Facebook that can't really see the audience, we have the NAACP here represented as well. Members of our town council and the mayor is here, so it's good to see. I know members of our neighborhood watch groups are here, and our business community, like Walmart, is here as well. And I know some other business communities are watching on Facebook Live as well, and some neighborhood watchers are watching on Facebook. So thank you all for having interest in this. It's important for us for you guys to have interest in this. So we look forward to your questions. So, flock safety. So when we looked at planning and implementation, we looked at community need and public safety, right? So how can we serve our community better, and how can we provide better public safety? How can we leverage technology to solve crime and provide services to our victims throughout town, no matter what type of crime it is? And we'll get into a little bit of that later. It's not just stolen vehicles. This tool here for us is a multiplier for a vast array of type of cases, and we'll talk about that. So we went through the procurement process. We did look at some other license plate reading systems. We had another vendor who was a license plate reader vendor that was affixed to our cars. We looked at several vendors. Again, we decided on Flock Safety because they're the best fit for Culpeper and best fit for our agency. And we'll talk about procurement. We'll talk about funding as well and how we're funding these flock cameras, which is also important. Policy. We'll talk a little bit about policy. Policy is important, how we operate these flock cameras, LPRs. Training. Todd is kind of responsible for the training, so how we train our officers to ensure that they're following best practices and department policy on the use of our LPRs. Transparency is a big thing. So again, this is not our first meeting on this. We presented this to our neighborhood watch groups. We presented this to our downtown business groups. We presented this to several business communities, neighborhood watch, HOAs, public safety. Did a whole presentation at our public safety committee at town council meeting. So we're trying to be as transparent and kind of engage the community and provide dialogue as best we can. We thought that was the best approach. Again, before implementation and after implementation. So this will be continuing because, as you all know, technology is always evolving. So as this system is fairly new to us, it will evolve to something greater. Now, good or bad, it will evolve. So we want to make sure the community is kind of up to date on that as well. So this won't be the first time or the last time we do this. So why emerging technology is important, and especially in law enforcement. One, as we just talked about, it's always changing, right? So everything we do, technology, either technology in your homes, technology everywhere, technology in the schools, technology in law enforcement, it's always changing. Criminals are using technology most time they're using better technology than we're using. So it is important. That's why Todd's so important to us, and some other members of our staff is so important to us that we stay on top of technology to make sure the criminals don't get too far ahead of us on the use of technology and committing crime, to make sure we can fight crime, provide service to victims in a way that's up to date, and also with best practices in mind, and also civil liberties in mind. So to make sure that we're doing things in best practice and build trust with the community. We talked about provides better service to victims of crime. The big one, the fourth one's a really big one. It's a workforce multiplier. In the day and age where staffing's always concerns and crimes become more complex and more crimes and calls of service are increasing and crimes are increasing, this provides our officers and detectives a workforce multiplier to help solve crime much faster and much more efficient than the older ways of policing. And I get it. I mean, I'm kind of old school. 27 years ago when I was on patrol, I never thought that this would ever come down to this. If I want to go find somebody, I go knock on the door. Now I can enter their tag. If I really want to find somebody, we'll find them on the highway. So it's just one of those things. But workforce multiplier detectives are using this as well on criminal investigations, or narcotics units in the hunt for fentanyl. They're using it for drug traffickers. It's really good for that. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but I'll put it out there. But it is a useful tool. And we hope with things like this is to turn it to future crime, because we want our criminals to know, do not come in the town of Culpeper in a vehicle if you're planning on committing a crime. If you have committed a crime somewhere else and you own a vehicle or are associated with a vehicle, do not commit a crime and come to Culpeper. As we cite several examples in this PowerPoint, it did not fare well for them. So we have several examples where in the 2 months or so that we've implemented this program, we have dozens of arrests solely because of flock. So what's it look like? What is a flock LPR? So that is what it looks like. So I will tell you they are solar powered. That's what it looks like. I will tell you we have multiple flock LPRs throughout the community. I will tell you that I won't tell you how many we have, but I will tell you we have one, and you can go look for it, and that's the first one we put in, and that's at Rockwater Park. When you go up the hill, when you enter Rockwater Park, we put the first one there. We put the first one there because in the summertime, there's hundreds of kids up there, sometimes unattended, unsupervised, and we do not want anything to happen to our children. And we start seeing some crime up there, so the first LPR went at the entrance of Rockwater Park. Every car, I will publicly say, that goes into Rockwater Park, we are capturing vehicle data in your tag because we're trying to protect our kids, and God forbid anything happened, at least we would have that data to investigate crime. I'll leave be a scavenger hunt for the rest of them if you guys want to participate in that. So these are called Flock has they call Falcon cameras. These are Falcons. These are the stationary LPRs, automated license plate readers. Again, they're designed to capture rear license plates. They will not capture front-facing license plates. They use artificial intelligence and machine learning. They will not capture rear, front-facing license plates or faces. It will not do it. It's not designed to do it. It won't do it. It's rear-facing. These things are pointed for vehicles going away from the camera. Flocks are not designed to capture pedestrians, sidewalks, dumpsters, gates, or other non-vehicle traffic. These are for cars, rear-facing cars going away from the cameras. It won't not capture anything else. Todd, please jump in here. If I mess up, Todd's my technical guy. If I talk over my head, he's going to save me. Placement, again, vehicles driving away from intersections or streets. Can't point to a middle intersection. You can't point middle intersection because we don't want faces. We don't want any cars front facing.
And what's important distinction on these cameras is that they're not video cameras. They're actually taking still images based on motion. So if the camera's sitting there in a specific location and there's no motion, no car activity, it's not taking pictures. It's just sitting there waiting for that motion to go.
And we'll show you examples of that in a second. Mounting, we won't get into the mounting, but that's where Todd's job comes in on these things mounted. Obviously, the vendor comes in and mounts all these for us as part of the contract. Before we get any questions before we get started, please ask. Any questions on Facebook, let me know. We're answering as we go. So this is what it looks like. This is the system. So it's a web-based system. The data is theirs, and this is kind of what it looks like. So it will take any pictures of, we'll talk about all cameras here in a second, but my cameras, which is the police department cameras, is only taking images with license plates. So sure you can toggle between images without plates. If you're looking for a vehicle with no plates, I know we talked about it before, how you get around it, take the plates off. You can search, do specific searches for vehicles without plates. It'll use that AI technology and it just search vehicles with no plates and just pull those vehicles up. Or all images. So right here is toggled images with plates. So this is the Rockwater Park LPR. It's going up the hill. It's the Public Works vehicle here. It looks like maybe not. Going up the hill. So it will shoot the tag, the date, the time when it goes up, and the location. So inbound Rockwater Park. And that's what it's showing. So that's a search. So there's different things you can do with the system. You can search, or you can do manual entries. Todd, what else can we do?
So this is a search. If you flip to the next slide, that's just an example of a search at night. It does have infrared, so it'll pick up at night.
So night searches. So yeah, it picks up just as good at nighttime as it does during the daytime. So if you're going to commit a crime, you're going to do it at nighttime, thinking you're going to get away, it doesn't. It'll read your tag at nighttime. So,
we can show you some more when we go onto the live system, but flip to the next one. So yeah, this is an example of the AI technology that's built into these cameras where, say there's an incident that happened and you don't have a tag. You go to a store, maybe there was just a robbery or some kind of a larceny, and the person said, well, I didn't get the tag, but it was a black Dodge pickup. So this, for example, is a search for just that, a black Dodge pickup. The AI in this in their system can detect ladder racks, it can detect bumper stickers, so many different things that you can put in and ask it to look for.
Yeah, you can put in just you want all vehicles with bumper stickers. It'll give you all array of vehicles with bumper stickers. This search was a Dodge pickup, a black Dodge pickup that was entered. And if you notice that the locations of these are, like this one's El Dorado, eastbound from Gatebrook Drive. Nobody recognizes that in Culpeper, correct? It's not in Culpeper. So we had the ability to not only search air cameras, but to search a wide network of cameras throughout the country. So every camera other agencies share cameras with us. We can share air cameras with other law enforcement agencies. I'll stress law enforcement agencies. We don't share our data with anybody else, only law enforcement agencies. So we do a LPR Dodge pickup truck, black in color. We did all cameras here. So North King Street, Old Fox, Hills southbound, Midlothian, which I think it's in Richmond. All Dodge pickups, and you can search by time frame. You can search by every minute. The searchable data on this is kind of endless. So I think we have a question.
Question from the online is just confirmation of what information will and will not be publicly accessible as we are looking at these examples.
There's no information that's publicly accessible. There will be there's a website that we set, we'll talk about later. It's a portal that any citizen can go on the website portal and see our activity on flock activity, but they'll have no access, the public has no access to information.
So if there was a crime to happen on my property, I would contact you, you guys would use Flock as a resource to assist in capturing the information.
It's an investigative tool. That's all it is. It's an investigative tool. We'll use it just like we use criminal histories, DMV data, or crime, or footprints, or fingerprints. It is an investigative tool. Nothing more, nothing less.
Is the information that's stored on the software, when you share with other agencies, is it by request or is it a mandated submission to the platform?
By request. Right, Todd?
Yes.
So each agency requests to share our data, and in turn, we share their data. So we can have access to their data. So we don't have to share our data with any other law enforcement agency we choose, though. It's our.
Then one question
30 days. 30 days, it's wiped. And that's Virginia, that's opinion from the Attorney General in Virginia, Commonwealth of Virginia. And each state varies. There's one state right now in the Northeast, it's 3 minutes. It's hard to do anything in 3 minutes. It's wiped after 3 minutes. So if a crime happens in her business right now, we got 3 minutes to search it and find it and hold it and save it, or else it's gone. So some states interpret these things a little bit differently, and the weight versus civil liberty versus public safety, that weight is different for them than in Virginia. Does that answer your question, Caleb? So this is an alert. So this is where the meat of the system. So, and this is why it's good for the community, it's good for public safety, and it's good for our victims. So anybody, one thing, there's three different data points on alerts. One is NCIC, National Criminal Information Exchange, correct? That is where every network across the country of all law enforcement, where anything stolen is entered, wanted persons are entered, stolen items are entered, and every time you go on a traffic stop, if you've ever been pulled over by the police, and you're pulled over and the cop asks for your driver's license, he takes it back to the car, he runs it through NCIC and what we call VSIN, which is the Virginia system, but it runs through NCIC. So if you want it anywhere throughout the country, it's going to tell you. Same here. So if we put an alert in, that vehicle goes through our LPRs, it's going to get an NCIC hit. So if this car, let's say it was stolen, this is actually Todd's police car that we did the test. So let's say Todd's police car was stolen, we would put this tag into the vehicle. When he goes through that LPR, within a couple seconds, every officer will get a text message on their smartphone. There's a flock safety application on their smartphones. Another alert will go off. If they have it running on their mobile data terminals in their cars, it will go off. The alert will go off. And everybody gets an email. So the notification system is pretty robust. So those officers can act on that information pretty much close to real time. And real time is going to be a buzzword later. So pretty much in real time. So it'll give the tag, it'll give a picture of the car, then it'll give the location of the car. So within seconds to the officers on the street, like the car stolen just went through an LPR. We've had several examples of this already here in town. We've gotten how many stolen cars so far? 3 or 4? 4? In a couple weeks, we've had 4 stolen cars come through from other agencies that we've made arrests on. So surprising how many stolen cars are out there. But they're all from other agencies. Prince William, Fredericksburg, Richmond.
Dulles.
Yeah. And one was out of state. So that's kind of what an alert looks like. So we talked about NCIC. The next one, the database is going to hit off is the Culpeper hot list, our own hot list. So if we have an investigator that's working a crime and they want to go get felony warrants, only felony warrants by policy, talk about policy, right? Felony warrants gets obtained, and that person has a vehicle that's registered to them or a vehicle that's closely associated with them, we can enter that into the system. So if they go through that system and they're wanted for a felony, it will hit, and our officers will respond to that application.
Wearing my safe board hat, so somebody has a protective order, and that vehicle, that person is going to one of our shelters. Could that be entered?
Stay tuned. Yes. We're gonna get to that. So part of NCIC is several different criteria goes to NCIC. So every time somebody is served with a protective order, that's entered in the NCIC. So yes, we can toggle a button on here. Every protective order goes to the LPR. We'll get a hit. We'll get notifications just like it's stolen. The issue with that is if we toggle that button for every single one of our cameras, everybody with a protective order is going to get hit. We're going to get hits all day. So if it's something specific or specific vehicle, if we have knowledge or intelligence that, hey, the offender is coming by a shelter or going by a victim of domestic abuse or sexual assault, going by their house, and we have an LPR close by, we can put that specific person in there for the protective order. When they go through, it's going to hit. So at least our law enforcement officers will know that offender with a protective order is in that area.
So if the LPR is put near like a domestic violence shelter, we pick it up.
Yes, it will. Every time. So we talked about NCIC. We talked about our own hot list. That can not just stolen cars or stolen plates. It could be anything. It could be a a sexual assault or domestic assault, we're looking for a suspect. We can put their tag in. If they're looking for well, the other day, grand larceny. We had a group coming in from Maryland, stealing a retail theft organization, stealing from our Target and our Walmart. It hit. We found them in Target, in the parking lot, doing exactly what they were wanted for. We had a pursuit. Unfortunately, it went in the county, a pursuit, and unfortunately, the vehicle rolled over in the county. They wasn't seriously hurt, but we were able to make the rest. And they were wanted out of Stafford, Culpeper, Maryland, all over Maryland. They're wanted. Department of Homeland Security is looking for them as well. So, not quite sure they ever get caught if it wasn't for Flock. So, we'd say Flock got another one.
I'll say a question. In terms of you use the term real time, do you have like an estimate of how long it takes to triangulate that data? Like, let's say between the different cameras, like is it on a grid system? Like, how accurate is that for placement?
Todd question.
So I'm not sure I follow as far as triangulating.
When we get the alert,
Yeah. So essentially,
less than 10 seconds.
Well, yeah, once a vehicle passes by one camera, it's usually 10 to 15 seconds before the alert will actually come through to our devices.
okay.
Yeah, that's pretty quick.
Yeah. Now, sometimes, depending on, which direction of travel they are, they may hit another camera before officers can catch up to them. It just depends on the availability of the officers, if they're on other calls or, whatever.
And just for Facebook viewers at home, Dr. Houck asked about the protective order. So you can click on be specific on what different triggers hits off NCIC. So this one is toggle a known violent person, a missing person, protective interest, protective order, and supervised release. So anybody on supervised release, protective order, anything that's toggled, it will alert any vehicle associated with them that's in the system. It will alert.
So to me, it seems that the key is that it is the rear license plate as to not cause harm as to the place of where they are coming out of. Right? I know as like a business, that was a concern of, are we gonna have incoming people? Is this going to be an incident on my property to make it worse or have like a larger, I'll take all the law enforcement presence. But when it comes to a different type of situation, right, it's usually, I guess, on the way out, so we don't have to worry about it necessarily occurring on our property.
You can set the camera up however you want, really. I mean, so you could have the cameras facing in to get them coming into the property, or you could have them facing out to get them leaving if,
Okay, so it's
You know.
just the key is the rear license
rear.
plate to not capture people, but you can have it go either way for your property.
Correct.
Exactly right.
Okay.
correct.
As long as we're catching the rear of the vehicle. Yeah. So this is what our alert looks like. This is what the alert looks like on the interface. And bells and whistles will go off, and the alarm will go off. We get alert on our phone. I was kind of hoping we'd get alert when we're live. It'd be kind of cool, but you never know. Let's go ahead, Mr. Ford.
Her question may be from me. Does it give you notification if any damage happens to one of the cameras? Does it go off, when it goes offline, does it send you, hey, this camera's not working?
So Flock monitors all of that, and I can go in to a section and look, and it'll show me the status of all of the cameras. But yes, so they would notify us immediately if anything goes offline.
We've had that happen already, actually.
Does it capture anything right before the movement of it?
I mean, it's based on motion, so I mean, if somebody like hit it with their car, or if somebody, purposely, ran one of the poles over or something, it's gonna catch whatever, on motion, yeah.
Do you do a physical check of all of them? Random check, security check?
We don't. We just kind of monitor and make sure they're still working. So if they're working, we kind of monitor it every day. If they're working, we kind of assume that they're functional. All of our police officers know where they're at. So they have a map. There's actually a map on the interface that shows exactly where each one of them's at. So for us, we're a small town. So the town's 8 square miles. So we kind of know where all of them are at. Like if you go to like Richmond City, they have hundreds of these throughout the city. And for them, it's pretty important to have them on the map so officers can kind of know and where everyone is at. So the third data point that hits off NCIC is the National Center of Missing Exploited Children. Anytime they put someone into their database, it goes into this system. So any missing, this is where the system really is important. And this is the big selling point for me in the whole system. Any child that's missing or abducted automatically will go in the system. So there's been, if you can Google stories about flock and missing abducted children, you'll see dozens and dozens of cases where missing children, abducted children have been located within minutes and hours of their abduction because of these flock cameras. That's the number one. That's the number one seller for me. I'll be honest, one seller for me, because God forbid we ever have an incident here in Culpeper, at least we'll have some license plate data, and we'll have that information to put in the system.
One, I would also mention silver alerts, and then I have a follow-up question about how flock is being used after that.
Okay. Yeah, silver alerts as well. So silver alerts will go in the system as well. If we have a senior citizen who gets into a vehicle and drives off, let's say Alzheimer's or a dementia patient citizen, we can put that vehicle in. There's been a lot of success stories in the system for that as well. I remember one time I worked patrol many years ago. I had one in town that drove off, and ended up in Illinois. He was driving to his childhood friend's neighbor's house or something, and he was ended up in Illinois. This technology back then, I wish we did, because we could track them and probably found him way before he ended up in Illinois. So, question?
Yes, this is a question from about purpose, one of the uses of flock. So we have talked about flock being used to locate wanted people, as well as missing children, missing adults, and they would like to know if this is being used to pull over random vehicles.
Absolutely not. So, it cannot be used to pull random vehicles. It will not alert our officers to pull over random vehicles. It is not used for traffic enforcement. So no traffic enforcement is conducted with these cameras. So if somebody goes speed by them, there's no speed measurement device in these cameras. If somebody's reckless driving, if somebody's DUI, it will not detect a DUI driver passing through the cameras. This is solely based on the tag and any information that's entered into the system based on the tag, on the license plate.
Kind of a continuation, are there any contingency for false positive, or is that even possible?
Yes, there is. So we require officers to confirm the tag before they take action, if applicable. Now, some cases we've had where the officer goes and approaches the vehicle. Exactly. So we try to confirm, and we have had some false hits before, depending on sometimes sunlight, and it's like 90%
Oh, it's in the 90s for accuracy.
rate.
But we have seen some false, like we've had a couple stolen license plates that you can quickly look at it and see that it read it wrong. So then, you're just going to ignore that and mark it as a false.
False, yeah. And they confirm that before they take action. Yeah. If applicable. Here lately, they have not. We kind of know based on the driver's actions that it's probably pretty solid information. Juliet, I'm sorry.
How quickly, once you enter a plate in, will it come up with the data? Like, say, a citizen calls in, or it's
Right.
in progress.
So that's the really nice thing. I mean, I can show you guys later when I pull it up live. But like the chief was talking about with like a senior alert or a missing child, it takes less than probably 3 minutes for us to enter it, and then it's active and it's
good.
live on our system that quickly.
And everybody else's system that we share with.
Right, and anybody that we share our hot list with. So if you did have like a senior alert, a silver alert, and we entered that, and they ended up in Fairfax, and 30 minutes, 40 minutes later, if Fairfax is running our hot list up there, which they should be because we've shared it with them, then it's going to hit on their camera, and we're going to be able to get that person. So, yeah, it's very quick.
Russell.
Neighboring jurisdictions, how many are using this as well?
We can pull that up on the live site here in a second. It'll show you exactly all agencies where they're at. But I think Fairfax County has several.
I mean, the counties neighboring us.
No, not
No,
yet.
Not yet.
Even Culpeper County itself.
No. Well, hopefully
So-
soon, though.
And we could speak to that too. The counties have a little bit more of a challenge than the
Yeah.
town.
So Falk Gear did purchase one. What they found out was it's kind of silly. I'll say that. VDOT had a hard time giving the right-of-way permit to put the pole up. And I'll say this, kind of bureaucracy kind of kills the cat here a little bit. So, long story short, VDOT, hopefully they will work through those things on a statewide level to make sure these right-of-way permits are given to flock. I think because they gotta be so close to the roadway, maybe. That's what I was told. They have to be so close to the roadway to capture the tags, that VDOT's having a hard time approving the right-of-ways, because they have to be set in concrete. Fortunately for town, we're town citizens, we own the roads, so we own the right-of-ways, so it's a little bit more easy for us.
Let's say another agency uses a different contract with a different provider. Is there a way for those systems to talk to each other?
Not yet, not yet.
No.
So Flock right now is ideal because other agencies use.
Flock is kind of the standard, an industry standard right now. And I might get in trouble for saying that from other vendors, but
So town Culpeper Police, basically owns all cameras here.
we do.
Are there any independent companies that have the cameras,
No, not as yet.
like Walmart Park?
No, no, no. Now, I will tell you,
Can purchase one to put in a subdivision?
yes, you can.
You can.
Yes, you can. And we'll talk about that later.
Well, yeah, okay.
We'll talk about it later. You're ahead of me, but we'll talk about it later. Good question, though.
Well, I brought it to you last year.
Yep, I know, I remember. When you walked in, I remember. I said, oh, no, I know why he's here. I said, uh-oh. Any more on the alert side? So we have NCIC, we have our own alert system that we can enter, and then the missing children, endangered children, and the senior citizens. And the last two sells it for me. So I can't stress that enough. So we'll talk about success stories. So when we first put these things up, this is back in October. You see a U-Haul van here, and this is kind of the investigative summary on the access of the back end of Flock, what the platform looks like. It will give it to us. And we track all of our success stories, and we file them, not only in the investigative case file, but also we kind of store these success stories separately as well. Again, NCIC hit came through, a report stolen vehicle from Prince William County, as you see, it was a U-Haul truck. Driver was also wanted, as you always see, was wanted on a separate felony charge as well. I don't know what the felony charge was. I
I think it was unauthorized use.
Unauthorized use. Maybe it was a credit card theft in there too, maybe. I don't know. Units responded to the Flock hit, recovered the vehicle, suspect in custody. So this was kind of our first one. That's why, again, it doesn't sound too attractive, but this was our first one, so we had to put it in the slides, right? So this was the first one. And you can see this was, it's hard to see, I think it was an Arizona tag. I think that's what it was. But it was stolen out of Richmond, or Prince William County. So this is our first one. So right after that, in October, this is maybe the next day, I think it was the next day, or close to it. Success story 2, Fauquier County, neighboring county, had a abduction, sexual assault. It had occurred early morning hours. The vehicle was known to be driven by the suspect in Culpeper. They contacted us to be on the lookout for this vehicle. Our officers were on it. They said, we know, gosh, they're looking for abduction, rape suspect. Let's put it in the Flock to see. And 20 minutes after the officer, early morning hours, like 6 o'clock in the morning, put it in the Flock system, it comes to the Flock. So we stop it. He's wanted for questioning for the rape, sexual assault. He's also wanted. I think that was credit card fraud or credit card theft.
Yep.
He was wanted. And that was about 30 minutes after we entered the tag. And to go back to your 30 minutes, he's going through the Flock, we got him. And actually, they ended up making a charge on the abduction, sexual assault case in Fauquier as he came through. So that was a good success story. I think that was our second one. That was a really good one. So, it's something we just don't tolerate as a community, of crimes against persons like that. So that was success story 2. Since then, I would tell you we've had several success stories. We can't put them all in here. We talked about the one from the Walmart Target organized theft ring from the other day. We've got, Todd, any other ones? Julia, any other good ones we've had?
We had the stolen car from Page.
Stolen car from Page County. That was the one where we attempted to verify the tag, and when we got behind it, took off and ended up, Rappahannock County, ended up stopping it in Rappahannock County, and it was a stolen car in Page County.
We actually had 2 stolen vehicles within a single overnight shift. The first one was a request from Culpeper County to locate a vehicle that was involved in unauthorized use. Our officers located that vehicle within short order. That gentleman was safely taken into custody. Within probably about another 3 hours, we received information from Rappahannock County that a vehicle stolen out of their jurisdiction was possibly in ours. That vehicle was located, they tried to evade us, it did not end well for them, and they were apprehended, all within a 4 or 5 hour period for one shift.
Yeah, that was a fun night shift. We have a particular day shift, one side of the day shift. Whenever they work, they get flock hits, and their supervisor, he loves flocks because his guys are always busy. Dr. Brads?
Just follow up on that comment about unauthorized use. What about status, I'm not sure that it would hit felony status in the system already, but let's say habitual offender license revocation, those individuals' last known vehicle driven, would that be entered in there?
Not under,
Quite yet?
not under our policy, unless they're wanted for felony habitual,
Okay,
then we can, any felony charge.
okay.
But not necessarily, we're not, the system's not, we don't want the system built to be, go after like suspended drivers and put this, if we put every suspended driver or habitual driver in the system, we would have to have a whole array of flock officers just answering flock calls.
The ones that are
Yeah, the habitual, different level, yeah,
the alcohol related in particular.
yeah. And that's not a bad thought, habitual DUI guys, yeah. Yeah, and you probably have to have established a separate,
Grand jury, like they said, yeah.
you allow those, right? And you probably have to establish a separate reasonable suspicion to pull that car over, not just based on the flock hit, but just because they're habitual, because they're, yeah. So that would be some different legal requirements. But yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so we all tell you what flock does. Let's talk about what flock does not do, which I think is equally important. That's why we're here, right? So, like as we talked about, flock does not do facial recognition. There's no facial recognition software. I know that's a big buzzword right now throughout the country. In law enforcement, it's facial recognition software. There's a lot of companies right now who do offer facial recognition software. Virginia code right now is very restrictive on using facial recognition software. You can use it, they're very restrictive. So we don't have any, here at the police department, we have no facial recognition software. I'll make that very clear, no facial recognition software. I've gotten calls on it from the community, and I'm glad they're calling, but we just don't have any facial recognition software. The good news about flock is it's indiscriminate with people, gender, and race. It doesn't matter what vehicle comes through the flock, the vehicle comes through the flock. So, and I will tell you that we pick the location. Now, I know a lot of times the locations that are chosen are sometimes sensitive to race and gender and all those things. And I will tell you that I will safely say that these are on our more primary roadways and not in secondary roadways, if that makes sense. Prohibit uses, it cannot be used for immigration enforcement. Traffic enforcement we talked about, can't be used for harassment or intimidation. And it's cannot be used basically solely on protected class, I mean race, sex, religion, and definitely, and by policy, cannot be used for personal use. You can't check to see where your loved one's at, or your child's at, or where your kid's at, or where they travel. You cannot do that. That is a violation every day, all day. And data retention, 30 days. 30 days, unless we save it, that's part of a criminal investigative file, then we save it in our back end, what we call evidence.com, which is our digital evidence storage software. So we store all evidence in there, all digital evidence in there. That's only on criminal cases. So if we get a hit, make an arrest, it gets stored in evidence.com in criminal investigative files. If it's just a vehicle's coming through, no hits, no nothing, 30 days, it's gone.
Is that 30 days for the department, or is that 30 days for the actual, platform?
The platform.
Platform.
The platform.
It's all cloud-based, so they maintain the data.
Yeah. So every agency in Virginia is 30 days.
Is that per camera, or is that, once one camera catches it, it sits on the system?
It's per hit, right? It's per tag.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it puts those in the caches at like days or minutes. I don't know how it does that, but we checked it 30 days. You can do a search. We do a search tonight. 32 days, it's not going to give you anything. And of course, policy and best practices, as we talked about. Any question what it does not do? Because I do think that's equally important as what it does. Any questions? Yeah.
We did have a delayed question from social media, and it's not so much what it does or does not do, but where it is. Somebody was asking if the cameras are stationed on public property or if any of the cameras are currently on private property.
All cameras are on public right-of-way.
Town right away.
Town right-of-way. Town of Culpeper right-of-way. Yeah, none are on private property. But we'll get to that in a second. Tell them to stay tuned. So we talked about transparency. So transparency is very important to us. We want to make sure our citizens know exactly how the system's operating. So we'll continue to do engagement activities such as this. And we also created this, and Flock provides this platform for us as a separate web page. So any citizen can go on the website, which you just saw, and pull up the activity of our flocks. So we'll talk about the overview, policies, what's not detected, acceptable use policy. Again, that's a big thing. I know we've gotten a lot of inquiries about selling to third parties. Flock does not sell data to third parties. The data is theirs. Prohibited uses, access policy. We talk about being verified before you. And over here, this list over here, and Todd, scroll back, these are all the external organizations that shared with us and we share with them. All the law enforcement agencies. No private. So we talked about the hot list that we're alerting on. We talked about the NCIC, the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children. Vehicles detected in the last 30 days. In the town of Culpeper, 142,000 tags hit. And I bet all of our tags are part of that 142,000. Hot list hits in the last 30 days. We've had 30 hits in 30 days. So we're averaging, I didn't know that, we're averaging a hit a day. Yeah. And sometimes it's multiple hits. So we had one car coming through our system, and it was one of the stolen cars. And it would go through, and they couldn't catch up to them because they're busy. Because all this is dependent on how free the officers are working. If they're on other calls, they can't respond. So they would go, we get a hit one day, and then the same stolen car would come through the same, their work pattern. They would drive to work, and for like 3 days, it was the same car going through the same license plate. So until we finally were able to stop them. But 30 hits last 30 days. And you can see how many searches we've done in those last 30 days. Our officers have searched it 133 times. So our detectives, our officers have searched it for us. And I will tell you, our detectives are using it pretty much probably on every single case they investigate. Captain Terrell's in the audience. I was pointing him. They're probably using it every single case they're probably investigating right now. Because Flock will tell you, the International Association of Chiefs of Police will tell you every crime that's committed, 75% of crime is associated with a vehicle. And I think that's low end. I think it's probably higher than that. Every crime I've been associated with, 75%. And we have recent success stories. We haven't put anything here yet, Todd, have we? But we will. We will. So that's available to the public. That kind of shows you how many hits we're getting a day, how many hits we're getting, how many searches we're doing. So data retention set for 30 days, automatic. Right? That's Virginia law, or actually Virginia opinion by the Attorney General. Data is not sold to third parties. I cannot emphasize that enough. That's a big one. Search is only limited to investigative inquiry. So, right, you can't search, your son or daughter and see where they're going through at 1 o'clock in the morning. Search is log and audit. So part of our policy is that we have an audit system. So we have our crime analyst. She goes in and audits, makes sure all the entries we put in, if they're found, we take them out. Our records kind of double checks that as well. Our records who puts the felony warrant in there. And when we do a search, they always have to put a reason, a case number that's required. So every time you search that reason, you'll have that case number in there, so you kind of know what investigative case that the officer or detective is working when they do that search. Financial impacts. So we have a question about this. So originally late last year, this time last year, we put in our operating budget for 2 cameras. That was our first 2 cameras for FY24 budget, operating budget. And they're approved. And then the remaining cameras we have here are funded by grants, state grants, federal grants, DMV grants, Virginia State Police HEAT, which is Help Eliminate Auto Theft Grant. We just got that. So there's a lot of grants out there for these license plate readers. It's kind of the going thing. It's kind of the trend now. So everybody, like other agencies are calling us. We had a stakeholder meeting just like this one for all law enforcement agencies in our area. We invited all the neighboring law enforcement agencies, game, inland, fisheries, state police, sheriff's office, you name it. They're all here, and they have access to all this information. So we make sure that's available to them. So if they have a case that they're working, they can certainly enter our system. So they're going back to their agencies. Man, we need a couple of these. So we're hoping, because the bigger the network, the more effective it is. Flock is responsible for all the maintenance. So if somebody runs it over tonight, or somebody gets pissed off and they see one and they want to run it over, then Flock will come and replace the camera. They do operate off solar, so no power is not an issue. And so far, so good on the solar. They've been great. And Flock is responsible for all the data charges. So we pay a licensing fee every year. So it's all based off LTE, and it's pretty quick. So that gets back to the officers. So I will tell you, just for full transparency, we got these cameras at $2,500 a year. It's a recurring cost for the license. After January 1st, it goes up to $3,000 a year for each camera. But the results we're getting from it, and God forbid we need it for a missing abducted child. It's can't put a price on it. So we're going to talk about community-based systems, and we're going to talk about business-based systems. So there is an opportunity out there, and I won't belabor on it too much because I know I always get the live site, for businesses to be able to purchase their own Flock systems. Actually, Todd will probably talk about it, but Flock started by a private person whose mailbox was being vandalized, right?
He was having trouble in his neighborhood and just with vandalism, and I mean, a really smart guy. So he took an old phone, like an Android phone is the story, and he created an app to catch the license plates and put it in a plastic bag and stuck it to the post on his mailbox and started capturing the tags of the vehicles in his neighborhood, and ended up, giving the information to law enforcement to stop this. So he really started this company for homeowners associations to put these cameras up to monitor, traffic, and then it ballooned from there. And believe it or not, the company's only been around for about 6 years.
Yeah, about 4 of those years has all been HOA neighborhoods, and then about the past 2 or 3 years, they've been selling to law enforcement.
They're based in Georgia, and we were on a call one time with a county in Georgia, and that particular county, large county, had access to over 800 of these cameras in their county. And I think they said only 100 and some were owned by the police department. The rest of them were owned by private, like homeowners associations and businesses.
Apartment complexes.
Privately owned ones, do they have to collect data and then report it to the police for them to be able to use it?
So they collect the data, and then I think it's 2 ways, and they can either alert law enforcement to the data or have to give us access to the data. Yeah, so they can share that data with us.
Is it all data or just the one they captured?
All data, yes. And so one of the examples that kind of Flock talks about is their community case study. A community out in California, Saratoga, California. They were seeing their neighborhood, we're seeing a bunch of burglaries. So they kind of got together, all chipped in and bought Flock LPRs for their neighborhood. They teamed up and purchased it, and they experienced a decrease in crime going from 12 vehicle burglaries in 2019 to just 2 in 2022. They were having a bad problem with vehicle burglaries. So following the success of the private citizens, the city of Saratoga ended up buying additional cameras for the city after the neighborhoods purchased the cameras. So they currently have 26 cameras and 6 additional communities planned for installation throughout Saratoga. So it was an NBC story on that, how those residents band together to protect their neighborhoods from car burglaries and stolen cars. It's a business-based system as well, and I know there's a flyer there as well. So a lot of businesses have invested in Flock for various reasons. But as we talked about, and it's an International Association of Chiefs of Police number that 75% of crimes occur with a vehicle, which I think is probably low. And less than 5% of closed cases have vehicle data. So that means over 95% of cases that are closed with an arrest involve a vehicle. So you can see how this data is important to catch criminals and protect victims. So how does it help a business? And just briefly, I got a slide here. It does collect objective vehicle evidence of a crime where to occur, so we can recover losses for businesses. Alert internal management via text message or email of known threats or banned patrons. So let's say we have this all the time where, let's say an employee, and I know Walmart's here, so I'll use Walmart because I know she won't mind. Let's say Walmart has an employee who is a victim of domestic assault and the aggressor has shown up to the workplace. And they have this at their business to protect their employee. They can put that vehicle of the aggressor into the system so they can alert it when that aggressor shows up to protect that employee, and they'll know firsthand of that threat, and they can contact law enforcement and get the employee to a safer location. That's the example I've read about as protect employees. Or banned patrons. If you barred away somebody, you don't want them there, you get access to data before they walk into the building. So you can contact law enforcement before they get into the building. And then you can integrate, like we talked about, we integrate local PD, notify criminals of members through the NCIC hot list or on site. So stolen vehicles, plates, amber alerts, silver alerts, and warrants. So briefly, I don't want to get too much into the business residential side because I don't want to make this a sales pitch. That's not my job, that's Flock's job. But I just want to make sure that is available to our communities, our neighborhoods, our apartment complexes. So that is an option for them. Questions on that? You have any questions on that? I know you came ready. Okay.
Hey, I'm grateful you got it.
Good.
I've been waiting.
Good. I know we talked about this. Yep. So what's the future look like? So where do we go from here? And I don't want to belabor this too much, but AI, the use of AI, Flock uses AI. We know everything you do. Your phone right now uses AI. I mean, you're picked up Google and you search something, it searches for you, that it knows what you're thinking. It's using artificial intelligence to know what you're going to search for. Facial recognition, there's vendors out there like Clearview AI that does facial recognition. Again, some states are a little bit more stringent on the use of facial recognition, like Virginia is very, very, very strict. One of the stricter states there is on the use of facial recognitions software. Drone as first responders. Now we're starting to delve into that. We have a drone program. Now we're starting to talk about drone as first responders. What does that mean is having drones respond to crimes before, or simultaneous as officers. So there's communities now who have drone nests throughout the communities. They're integrated with your CAD systems through dispatch, and they will take off automatically to the coordinates of where the call is coming from, and we'll get there and start shooting live feeds back to the agency, back to dispatch, to the officer on their interface before the officer gets there. And we are starting to talk about that now. As Town Hall would be a great location. We've already established Town Hall with a fiber connection there would be a great location in center of town for a drone nest on the roof. So me and Todd's been talking already. So the technology out there for drones is unbelievable. It is the future. There's tethered UAVs as well. So I know agents are using tethered UAVs. So they set the drone up and it's tethered to a base. That means it never loses power. It runs 365 days a year, 7 days a week, and never comes down. You can. A lot of places we have special events, you have like concerts, or you have a lot of gatherings there at one location all the time. It would make sense to put a tethered drone just for command and control, so you have live feed all the time with that. And the cameras on these things are unreal. So we talked about, as part of MOUs, we have public-private camera shares. So we'll start talking about real-time crime centers. So the police department is going into a real-time crime center mentality where we will have a real-time crime center at the police department, which means that we will have an analyst there with all this data, including our flocks, other data, drones, different software systems, and providing real intelligence as it happens to the officers on the street when it happens. So there's no more coming back to the office and reviewing video. And that's where these camera shares comes into play. So we're looking at software. Flock Safety actually builds this software. It's integrated. It's called Flock Safety OS. You purchase the software, it pretty much brings up a crime map. And if let's say we have Walmart's in the room, so I'll use that example. Let's say we have this MOU signed with Walmart for a camera share. If crime, it just be by MOU, by policy. If Walmart gives us access to their cameras, if a crime, let's say I won't say the R word. Let's say a larceny happens at Walmart and they report a larceny, and that's in the MOU, they can share their cameras. My real-time crime center person will be sitting over here, will have access to their cameras and have total control over their cameras and can find that person and provide the officer real time. They'll have a communications station there, can communicate with the officer in real time directly, not through dispatch because that takes too much time to relay that information directly to the officer even before the officer gets there. If we have a burglary in the middle of the night, let's say a business that's closed at Walmart, let's say it's the middle of the night, we have access to those cameras, find the suspect, provide that information to the officers before the officer even gets there.
Manually operated?
As long as the camera system's IP based, which most camera systems are now IP based. Right, Todd? It's cool. Depending on the
It depends. If
depends
the
on their
camera is like a PTZ camera, then you'd be able to move.
pan tilt zoom. If it's a pan tilt zoom system, which most places have now, we can pan tilt zoom just like we can tie into their system. And that's what Flock OS does for us. When we're trying to purchase that system, and we'll be going to council soon for maybe some funding for that. So just for caveat. It's not too much money. It's not too much money. It's worth it. They know that. They know it. They're very supportive. Upgraded CAD RMS system. We're in progress there now to upgrade our CAD RMS, and that has some real-time crime features as well, as far as like AVL, automatic vehicle locator for our police cars, for smart dispatching and knowing where our police cars are at all times. Some other features where they can run some real-time information on our CAD systems. Telephoto zoom PTZ cameras is a thing now too. So these cameras now you can buy are amazing. The town already has them. So I will tell you, we have a Vigilon as our vendor. We have cameras at our critical infrastructure sites. We have cameras at the depot. There's no secret about that. Town hall and some other places. And we have access to those cameras. And there's all pan tilt zoom cameras. So we can zoom in pretty much on anything. They're very, very good cameras. We are looking to expand our community cameras, of course, with legal ramifications in mind to make sure that we're documenting public places. There's a lot of communities around us have street cameras. And if you integrate these street cameras with the Flock systems, can you imagine all these systems going in one central place, which is a real-time crime center when a crime occurs? This person's going to have all this information getting out to our officers in real time. No third party or coming back looking at the camera after the crime has occurred. We're looking at the camera as it's occurring. That's the basis. Again, more Flocks, more Vigilon PTZ street cameras. So I would love to have some PTZ cameras, Vigilon cameras at our high accident intersections. We have a couple of intersections right now that are very prone to accidents. I would love to have PTZ cameras at these accidents. I'll tell you one right now, it's Knowles Mill and 29 North. It's our most causative intersection in the town of Culpeper. More accidents happen at that intersection we have, by far, because of the volume and the traffic enforcement control measures there. We have more accidents there. So I would love to have a camera on there to monitor those traffic accidents, and it's great for investigative tools because we do have some serious accidents there. So that may be one of the first locations when we start getting street cameras. They're mounted to pretty much the street lights, and to have access to those. And private Flocks would be part of our network as well. So if we do have HOAs, or watch groups, businesses, or anybody out there who, apartment complexes who invest in Flock, we would have access to those too. So imagine having all these things into one central place to provide that information to officers. It provides officer safety, citizen safety, and it provides real-time information to our officers. Questions on that? So basically, what I kind of summed up is that real-time crime center, and that is, that's kind of the buzz here in law enforcement. Everybody's kind of going to real-time crime or real-time information centers. We'll have a real-time information because it's not just about crime. Sometimes it can be a weather event, right? So we get a blizzard, that it can be used for a blizzard just as much as it can be used for armed robbery. So how we leverage technologies for usable real-time intelligence for police officers on the street while they're dealing with a particular incident. And how we put real time into our information center. So with Flocks and all these other tools, we can do virtual pursuits. So like Richmond right now, They use virtual pursuits right now. They have cars, if they have a car they're chasing, they can almost virtually chase, because they have so many flocks throughout the city. They just get hit, and they can just virtually pursue them. So we kind of did that here once already, but we just don't have enough cameras to really virtually pursue. Our goal is to have a real-time information center by January 1st. I'll tell you, our real-time information center is grant funded. Pretty much all is grant funded through DCJS. To be up and running by January 1st. We might be a little bit behind on that because we're waiting on furniture and some walls. We're reconfiguring an area because it has to be somewhat protected from tours, and it is some sensitive information going on in there. So we're waiting on some infrastructure there for that, and we will have a part-time. We don't have enough crime here in Culpeper to have a full-time, real-time information center, but we do have enough crime to have a collateral duty assignment for our analysts. So it's kind of be in her workstation, and something happens, she can pop over there. She has a dispatch console, radio, firsthand, one-way communications, two-way communications with her officers on the street, and she's pulling those systems up. She has screens, and she's working all these systems to get that information to officers in real time. So we talked about grant funding, and the largest unfunded tool we got right now is the Flock OS. It's where we can do that community share and have access to cameras. And that's just business cameras. It's, let's say, communities use it. Let's say Mr. Ford goes on vacation for 2 weeks. He goes to Europe, traveling the world. He's like, man, can you watch my house for 2 weeks? You know, because I'm not gonna be there. We can do it. You for 2 weeks. If you have an IP security system, we can check your house, not even being there. And we can have access to your cameras. We have access to just your exterior cameras and check the exterior or the interior. So I know some agencies do it like that, which is kind of scary to think about. Like, I don't want people, but nobody's gonna be there, right? So maybe a cat or a dog or something, but that's okay. So, but people use it for that, like, right? So yeah, if I'm in Europe for 2 weeks, I want somebody looking at my house. Like, well, I'm not there, so. So most important takeaways, again, very important. We'll always consider the balancing act. We always consider the balancing act. That's why we're here tonight, is to ethics, best practices, and policy driven to find that right balance, to make sure not one side is weighed more than the other. And that's where a lot of input comes from you guys to consider what that balance is. Transparency always be key. That's why we set up that portal, the website. We have meetings like this. And and most importantly, we're committed to providing immediate service to our victims, providing real-time information and intelligence to our police officers on the street when they need it. That's the important part. So, questions on that? Go ahead.
Two questions. One, is there any differences in accuracy for motorcycles as of imaging?
Don't think so.
I think they're pretty accurate.
Secondly, you mentioned it's a web-based system for all of the data. Do you have any concerns about security breaches or manipulation of data? Something accessible on Flock?
It's all on Flock, and I know it's encrypted. I know it uses 856-bit encryption. I think that's read somewhere. So it's encrypted. It's a sign-on password, and it uses encryption. I can get some what level that encryption is. I just don't know off the top of my head. But I can get that information for you. Any other questions? Julie, are we good? So Todd's going to kind of go into the live site. This is actually live, and kind of talk about how it actually works here briefly, and we can go from there.
Yeah, just real quick, this is just the alert screen. So this is the screen that the officers would have up on their computer in their car. You can see I put this one in yesterday as a kind of a test. And then I drove through the camera at Rockwater Park, and I asked the officers a question if they saw this, and they were supposed to text me with the answer. But there is a lot of data, not only in this reason section that you can see here, but you can also attach warrants, you can attach pictures, you can attach all kinds of data. So as soon as it comes up on the screen, they can click on it and they can get it. Over on this side, you can see that I have like my SMS and email turned on, and then these are all of the different types of hits that are turned on. Different states enter things different ways. So like Virginia may not have a category for a violent person, but another state might. So, if we keep these turned on, then we're going to get it. Obviously, the Amber Alert through NECMEC. So that's it. If there's a specific tag, you can go in and you can suppress that tag. You know, if you don't want to see a hit on a particular tag any longer, we haven't really used that. The other big part of this is the custom hot list, which the chief alluded to. So not only is it hitting on NCIC and VSIN, anything that's entered a, you know, Maryland could enter a tag for a vehicle. It's going to hit on that if it's a stolen vehicle. But within the custom hot list, that's where we can go in and enter our own information. So again, as the chief mentioned, any felony warrants that we hold, if the individual has a vehicle that's registered in their name, then we enter those. We do not enter misdemeanor warrants into the system. And then, you know, the information obviously will pop right up on the screen for the officers. That's the alert screen. That's what that looks like. And then I just wanted to show you the search tool real quick. So here you can see right now we have access to 2,776 cameras throughout the country. And those are just other agencies that have shared with us. Typically, when our officers are conducting searches, you know, they're gonna just search my cameras. They have this over here really easy, you know, you could do the last 12 or last 24 hours. They have to enter a search reason. So, I mean, I can just put demo here. Normally, we ask them to enter a case number so that we can, you know, track it through a case number. And then you can enter a license plate. You can enter a partial plate. You can do wild cards with question marks if you don't know, you know, what a specific digit is, or the person that, you know, you're talking to might be unsure. And then this is where you can get into, you know, specific state. You can specify a specific body type, make, color, and then the identifiers are like
Drop down the body, drop down the example of the body.
body.
Like, for example, so the officer can,
Now, if you go too specific, will it negate your search, or will it show you anything outside of it? Like, say you're looking for this license plate, but somebody switched it to a different vehicle.
Right,
It'll
yeah.
narrow
So,
it
like,
too
if you,
much.
if you had a plate or a partial plate, I wouldn't select anything else. I would just, you know, search it based on that. But if you don't have that and you're just saying, all right, I want to see all, you know, they say, this is a convertible, I just want to see convertibles, then you would just go down and click on that. Especially if you're just searching like your cameras, because, you know, with our cameras, we don't have that many, so it's not gonna, you know, and then you can really narrow down your time frame too. So like if you're just searching, the crime just occurred and you only have to search for the last 15, 20 minutes, you know, or maybe the last hour if you want to see where they came into town, you know, for that vehicle. And I will tell you, we don't have these success stories up there, but we do have a couple success stories where our guys have gone back in and historically, you know, they've come to like either Walmart or Target or somewhere and they've had a suspect vehicle but no tag, and they've gone back and been able to identify the vehicle, you know.
we had a motorcycle like that at Walmart, actually, a motorcycle case,
Yeah.
kept going in for larceny.
So anyway, this is that system. You can see bumper stickers, window stickers, you know, back rack, top rack, all kinds of different things. As a matter of fact, I can just select bumper stickers here, and we'll say for the last 48 hours. Get some in the
Daytime.
daylight. So it's picking up this, you know, bumper sticker right back here on the back of the car. So there's that, and then there's another lookup tool.
Hamster wheel of death.
Chief, two questions.
Yeah.
So, number one, you said that you share this data with other law enforcement agencies. But for the ones that don't have cameras, so let's say our sheriff's office, do they have access to this data?
They do not.
They do not, so they'd have to call you guys.
Yes, we don't want, yes, because, yeah, it's our data, and, you know, we want to control our personnel, what they enter, what they don't enter, and if we have access to other agencies, then we don't have control of what goes in and what comes out, and they have to be audited, And sometimes like we put a hot list in, like on somebody's wanted on a tag, we have access to another agency, and that person was arrested, let's say they arrested them, that has to come out. So we have to make sure that comes out. We have internal controls to make sure that's removed from the system. We don't want them stopped or alerted again once they're charged.
And in terms of, let's say there's a conflict between departments on like a policy, so let's say currently the sheriff's office enforces, immigration violations, right? And the town police does not. This system is immune from being used in that.
It just does not do any immigration enforcement. It will not pick up detainers. No detainer information is entered into Flock. It's not used for immigration enforcement.
So just another part on this search tool, you can actually pull it up through this map, and as you drill down into these different areas, you can see what cameras are shared with you that you have access to. And as you can see, like in Richmond, there's quite a few cameras down there.
You drive through Richmond, you're getting your tags getting read.
And look at Jackson Ward, ooh, and Gilbert Street.
I think even like Chesapeake, they have down in Virginia Beach area, they have quite a thing. So it definitely.
But they
allows us to
are
search.
making differences. And you talk to anybody in Richmond, you talk to the chief from Richmond, they are making differences. They're reducing crime rates in neighborhoods. They are making a difference. And I think I said in the paper, in my 27 years, I don't know if any investigative tool that I've ever seen that is as comprehensive and robust and finds suspects as quickly as this does. I mean, throwing fingerprint dust on a fingerprint and turning into the state lab and waiting 12 months for a hit, those days are gone. We're operating in real time, and the criminals are operating in real time, so should we. So.
And there have been some stories. There was one that Flock mentioned at one of the user groups that I went to in California, where they had put a number of these cameras in this one particular town, and it actually made it into some of the local music, where they were some of the lyrics were like basically don't go to this particular town because their city is covered with cameras. And they're like, when it gets into the music culture, to tell you not to go somewhere. And they said that their crime went down significantly.
That'd be nice if it happened here, bad guys know we have it.
Well,
Exactly.
hopefully they're watching on Facebook right now and they get that information. I will tell you, Alexandria, Virginia, on your map, Alexandria is one of those agencies that has a flock. They just got the flocks. They had just implement them and put them in, and they had a flock kit one morning, stopped the car. The flock kit was from an escaped prisoner from Wisconsin they've been looking for homicide. He escaped prison. Anyway, they had a vehicle associated with him that he might be in. Was driving 66 or 495, hit the flock, stopped him. They put him back in custody, he's back in prison. But that was a great success story for them when they had just put him up, like escaped prisoner from Wisconsin. It's crazy. Any other questions? Any other Facebook?
On the left side, it says immigration at the bottom. What would that be?
Go down.
So,
The left-hand side,
yeah.
immigration bottom.
Yeah,
That-
that would be
that-
like a detainer.
That might be something
warrant.
that Border Patrol puts in, but to my knowledge, Virginia doesn't put anything like that in.
Yeah.
Because this is run off of NCIC and then VSIN,
Yeah.
Right.
Well, not ESAN, just NCIC.
just NCIC.
Just
Okay.
NCIC.
All right, so it's gotta follow Virginia law and regulations with it that hit with the national standards.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Like me personally, this is customizable for each officer because we don't want every sex offender. First, when we first put, I had every box checked, so every sex offender that went through the flock that had a car registered to them, alert. So 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock. I mean, it was just going off like all the time. It was the same vehicle, it's the same person going to work every morning, going through the flock, and we all had to turn them off because it was waking me up every morning, the phone going off. Any other questions? They're all great questions. Our Facebook audience questions?
No, we are good.
Having said that, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I thank you for all your questions. It doesn't stop here. If you continue to have questions, please don't hesitate to call us. Call Todd first with all the technical questions, because he can answer them better than I can. But thanks to Culpeper Media Network, Nicole Wooten back there for manning the Facebook Live. Thanks to Julie Cole for manning the Facebook questions. And thank you to the school system for being here. That's very important. As we know, school safety is utmost importance right now, and as we've seen in our region here lately, and we must protect our children at all costs. And thank NAACP for being here, and the citizens for being here, neighborhood watch groups, and our business industries here. So very good representation. So thank you all for being here, and enjoy their holiday season, and good night.